So this is Daniel from the Little Gallery in San Bernardino here with Lauren, uh, and we're pretty much wondering, what you've been up to since you last showcased at the Little Gallery.
Mostly conceptual now. I think with the pandemic, it's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of anxiety rose up since then. So I've kind of been forcing myself to play through it and use those feelings to make something productive and creative at the same time, while kind of like making a cathartic thing.
Got
Because
you.
it's scary right now. Like everything happened at once. Like there's a plague going on, and then all of a sudden Black Lives Matter, and you want to be part of it, and you want to help change things, but at the same time, like as an artist, you want to make something powerful and constructive, but at the same time, you kind of don't want to make something that's just part of a bandwagon. Like you want to make something that makes sense.
True,
But
true, true.
yeah, it's mostly concepts right now. Um, Working more with the dreamscapes, kind of uh, getting
Yeah,
in the swing of it.
that's very true what you said. Definitely, quarantine really happened really quick. And yeah, I mean, being wanting to support the Black Lives Matter movement and what happened, because definitely that there's something there to be said for sure. I definitely agree with your feelings. Because I find myself in a similar situation. You do want to stand up for them because they are our fellow American citizens that are. I mean, you look at the statistics and all that. Uh, it's pretty sound what they say. So I definitely think trying to just find ways to help them support. I think jumping on that bandwagon. I think as long as you like kind of keep it as like a theme, something that you support. I don't think it'll be
Mhm.
perceived as that. But you had mentioned that you were working on just right before you finished commenting. You were talking on that you were working on a project or that you had a project that you worked on.
I do. I have a newbie. I'll show
Yeah, show
you.
me. Show me.
Mostly work with cloudscapes, but
What?
it's more like kind of like a Rorschach test for people.
Got you. And you said cloudscape. That's I what. If you could go ahead and explain that just a bit.
It's more of a like a mental psyche type of cloudscape, like the headspace.
Got
It's
you.
strictly feeling, and I just let the brush do whatever it does. But also things pop out of nowhere,
Oh,
and it's kind of cool seeing other viewers look at it and they're like, "Oh, I can see a bunny. Oh, I can see faces." And it's a really cool interactive piece for me.
that's no, that is pretty cool. It's like it's replicating when we look up at the cloud and when we see these images, and that's funny because I do that with my brother. I don't know if people do that a lot lately, or maybe like younger generations because of
Yeah,
video games or social media. You have all the apps on the phone. But me and my brother, when we kind of hang out and we talk, we have like a place that we go to. It's a deck just in the yard. We do that. We look up and I'm just like, hey, that looks like a lizard. And he's like, no, that looks like a dragon, bro, or that looks like whatever, a crocodile. So you have mentioned that you're trying to connect emotion to these dreamscape paintings. Correct? I heard that right.
yeah.
Uh,
I like nowadays, and even in the past too, because I have pretty moderate anxiety. I do a lot of pieces that deal with suffering and
gotcha.
human connection to that suffering, and how we either place suffering upon ourselves or with others, whether it's intentional or not. Um, but yeah, it's just like with the cloudscapes, it's more of a purging of some type of suffering or even just a bland emotion. But with figurative pieces, like the one in the back right here, it's more like this is the human interaction that I'm kind of observing, and this is kind of like what humanity does.
That's that's an awesome pic. That's an awesome piece, just in the figure itself, and even the shading and the modeling that you do. Yeah, definitely.
I'm trying to
So
gauge the camera too.
crazy.
Gradients. The idea with the parasitic twin is, you know, whether you're in a relationship with somebody, or say like sibling, or even like a platonic friendship that you make with somebody, sometimes intentionally or unintentionally, we end up using people for our own benefit. And it was kind of like this symbiotic relationship that we may or may not know that we're in. So I play a lot of like with philosophy and human interactions.
That's interesting. The artist that I spoke to prior to us speaking did a lot of philosophy or works that is influenced by philosophy. Do you find yourself kind of in that same realm where you're on a philosophical idols influence your work, and it also kind of seems like you also may get influences by maybe like emotions that you deal with? Is that kind of safe to say?
Yeah, it's like this one is an ideal by Immanuel Kant, where it's unethical for someone to treat another person as a means for their own end. Yeah. But I kind of like resonate with that one, because I always feel like, you know, as an artist, they kind of groom you into thinking, oh, yeah, you can make friends with people, but at the same time, they're your competition in the end. But at the same time, it's like, why does it need to be like that?
Well, why does it need to be like so? You know, that's interesting. That's really cool that you did a piece like this, because I agree with that. It's like, why does it need to be like that? You know, and that's really cool. That's kind of an interesting human trait. You know, because I do think of a situation where I'm like, have I been guilty of that? And I think I'm all like, well, I think maybe not on purpose, but when you analyze it, you're just like, whoa, that wasn't the intent. But yeah, I could see that, you know? It's kind of like an overall
like, oh, my bad.
Yeah, you know? So that's really cool. That's like a piece that really has you look within yourself, you know?
Yeah.
Now, do you
try not to make things small.
I'm sorry?
Okay.
Okay.
Like making sure nothing fell.
Yeah, no, that's funny. Hopefully they don't. It kind of circling back to that, to the you wanting to evoke emotion and all that. Do you find yourself using like color theories and colors? You know, this color means a specific meaning to those cloudscapes that you do.
I think it depends. I think I'll just like have like a set palette in mind, but sometimes it will be like a certain landscape type that I'm thinking about. But like for this one, I don't know. Like I did a like sepia cyan kind of like dealio.
Yeah, that looks with blue on the bottom, correct? Like a sunset. That's what it kind of is reminding me of, like good and bad emotions within me.
Yeah, this was done kind of like around the time where I was questioning like if there's an afterlife kind of type deal.
That is a big question.
I also like playing with being in like unsure place where it could be good or bad, but at the same time, there's like a beam of light at the end of the tunnel.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like the situation that we're in right now, like we're in a
Yes.
shitty spot, but there might be like a good end result with everything that's going down. Like,
Oh yeah. I completely agree with your last statement on that. Currently, yes. We didn't think we'd find, like, humanity didn't think it would find itself in this situation, right?
oh, heck
Uh,
no.
right, especially with modern technology,
Yeah.
which is kind of also evident to nature's power. And I kind of think that's crazy. But anyways, I find it interesting because if you look back within history and you look at all the pandemics that humanity has faced and overcome, uh, they seem to, like, be almost about every century has one, right? So it's like crazy, like every, like, is it about every 100 years humanity faces one? But for sure, because I look back, so I was like curious. I asked myself that question. I was like, how much, like how many pandemics, first off, are recorded, and what is the time frame between each pandemic? And that's what my research has shown me, you know but there is, like you said, that light at the tunnel. It's just a matter of time, to be honest, before humanity comes up with the vaccine. Like, we already figured out how it goes into the system, so, like, we know it's like path of attack. So once you know your enemy's path of attack, it's not just a matter of time before you figure out, like, some type of defense, some type of offense to that. So that's the part that takes some time. you know, that's for sure. I like that you have these dreamscapes that you got going on. The one with the figure is definitely very responsive to me. I really like the meaning behind it. You said it was like well, you used the term like symbiosis, or
A symbiotic, yeah.
yes. So is that like a philosophy term, or this is the first time I'm hearing it? That's why.
It's more scientific. It's like say sharks and the cleaner fish, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have a symbiotic relationship where the shark offers protection for the little fish, but the little fish in turn cleans the parasites off the shark. So it's kind of like a give and take type of relationship where even though in nature they wouldn't hang with each other regularly, they still help each other out.
That's what's up. That's what's up. You have mentioned you do have some projects that are in the conceptual phase, which conceptual phase is just as important as the pre-production, post-production. It is part of the pre-production. That's where the artist develops or in my opinion, that's where the artist develops their work. I'm sure there's a percentage that works differently, works backwards, since we're all not the same. That's more of like a general thinking of it. But
it's the most annoying part.
It can take time, that's for sure.
Oh my God. Lots of overthinking and
yes.
self-criticism. We'll never get done.
Yes, that's very true. Do you find yourself sometimes when you work on your pieces that you work on, do you kind of find yourself that phase kind of being something that is maybe only just a phase, or like something that is spread out through the whole project? Because I don't know if you find yourself in the scenario, you're like, oh, I thought that was cool, but then, nah, let me adjust this real quick.
Oh my God, all day, every day. And it sucks because I'm one of those annoying artists that'll probably start like 10 projects and then not finish any of them and then start a new one. And it's like, and then you have to build up the motivation to go back to the one that you stopped on because you couldn't look at it anymore. It just made you too mad. And it's like, it's just a vicious cycle. But I think that's just the art mind. Like, we keep going a million miles per hour, but some breadcrumbs leaving looking for attention.
I definitely I could relate to that. I definitely have I tend to, I have ADHD, so there's a lot of ideas, thoughts that go into my head, whether they're ideas or thoughts is whatever the case is, just whatever. When I do have a thought that I do like, I do jot it down. Then, like you said, then I get bored with, well, me personally, I'll get bored sometimes working on this project, and then I'll be like, okay, I gotta go work on this project, refresh, and then even in that, like I find for me that other ideas, I'll be able to think on this project while working on this project. I don't know, this is kind of strange. I don't know if you ever have
Never
those
ending.
moments. Yes, it's that's why I say, like, yeah, I could definitely relate.
I
Yeah.
swear it's a curse, like, because we get the creativity, but we don't know what to do with it half the time. We're just like, figuring it out. At least I am.
That's true. That's true. But anyways, so your let's go back to your inspirations. Where do you find those mostly at?
Well, when I hit college, they make you study. So I started gravitating more towards like the dark surrealist artists and how they're able to interpret like these crazy dream-like ideas. And I kind of had some solace knowing that it's okay to put your weird thoughts onto a canvas and people like it, and then you might get famous. Oh, kind of cool. But even though I'm socially awkward as hell, another inspiration is humanity itself. It's so complex in every aspect, like relationships, how we treat each other, what it could be, what our ideologies are, like
very opinionated.
Yeah. But even like the weird concepts like religion, it's like so interesting to just sit and think about and be like, okay, this, what would it look like if it did exist? Like,
yes, those
those are a few.
Yeah, no, I definitely get you. Those are
crazy.
Those ideas are definitely, those questions at least are something that is definitely across all the board. So do you have a favorite surrealist artist?
Yes, Esau Andrews. If you listen to Circus Survive, you might notice or recognize his album art.
Okay.
So cool.
Yeah, dude. That's true. My brother, he's the one that introduced me to that band. He definitely likes it. And they do have like crazy album drawings and all that. That's for sure. That's pretty cool, actually. Do you also get inspired by your music as well? I find that interesting, or at least like cover art that you.
Actually, the conceptual thing that I'm working on right now, there's a band called Sigur Rós. It's an Icelandic band. And they're known for like atmospheric kind of, I guess, dreamscape like compositions. Most of them are instrumental, but some do have lyrics in them. But I was going to start a project where it was going to be, actually, let me backtrack. There's an album called Liminal, and it was a sleep album that was put on a meditation app. But when I listen to the album, I think of kind of like a purgatory like landscape for each song. Like each song, there's a different level of purgatory. So I was going to start making landscapes while listening to each song. I'm gonna see if I can do it on repeat.
Yeah.
But if not, I'll just go through the whole album.
Okay.
But I would like to see like how instrumental song can affect how painting goes with all the weird emotional shit that comes out at the same time.
Yeah.
A little challenge. We'll see how it
works. Yeah. Sometimes I do find myself getting some inspiration, whether it's lyrics from music or just listening to the instrumentals and seeing what I'm feeling inside, and especially connecting it to, maybe it could be a thought of what's going on in politics, what's going on in society. And then I'm like, dang, that lyric totally connects with this moment, you know?
Yeah. I feel like there's a couple of Alice in Chains songs that kind of like relate to now too. I'm like, I should do Candy with us too. I'm like, oh.
Do you when you? I assume you like to go see your bands play, correct? Like the bands.
Yes, I miss going.
I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree.
Oh,
I do too. I definitely miss going. Do you ever jump into the mosh pits or anything like that?
I went in one by accident one time, but I'm so small. Like I'm kind of scared. Like,
Yeah,
but
I'm hearing these bands that you play. Like I said, my brother listens to the bands. And how's the mosh pits for those bands? I would imagine like it's kind of like going to Ozfest. I hear the mosh pits gets pretty wild over there.
for Circa, it definitely was wild. But other bands, like I've seen the National, Coldplay, like kind of more mellow bands, and the moshes aren't nearly as hideous. Like
Yeah, that's for
like,
sure. Some of
usually step
those,
back
like
a
you
little
said,
bit.
those mellow ones. That's pretty. Yeah, there's some fun ones, and there's ones who's like, okay, cool. I like there's some ones that where it's cool. Everyone start pushing each other and all that. You know, you
Yeah,
just circle pit, and then you got the ones that are like, oh, okay, like it's like a circle pit, but it's more like kind of mellow. Like some of the mellow like reggae ska bands. 'Cause I really got into ska, so you know I like all the subgenres of it, and you know you just got your different vibes to the mosh pits and all that. So even with hardcore music is interesting. A friend of mine, he's in a hardcore band, and I've seen his band perform quite a few times.
oh, that's cool. And
Yeah,
sometimes they're like dead.
yeah. I'm
Like,
like, bro, I want to stand on the outside. I ain't trying to get kicked or punched or anything like that.
I know, right? I
Yeah,
would
with their
die.
ninja kicks, it's a trip. But I mean, it's cool. Like I'm not acrobatic like that, but that's pretty cool. You know. Oh yeah, so kind of coming back to your art, yeah. Other than, have you been showcased at any other art galleries, anything like that?
I only did um oh my god, microfilm art festival. I did the
Oh,
first
right
one.
on.
We went to the Lazarus Project in LA. That
Okay.
was my very first ever like vendor showcase.
Yeah.
So I was
Yeah. That's cool.
extremely underprepared. So that was fun. I just made a ton of prints and then brought some drawings and then like a couple paintings that were kind of easy to maneuver around LA. But it was really fun, you know, like being in the vendor environment. Like at first I was shy. I'm like, okay, I need to stay at my table and
Right.
like
That
not
that
talk
is
to anybody,
pretty.
babysit my stuff. But then I saw, like, towards the end of the night, started wandering around and then connected to awesome people. And it's like, oh my God. And then all of a sudden you're friends on Instagram and you're like, hey. And it was really
That's
fun. I would like to do another one. It's just a little sketch right now. I'm an essential employee, so I'm like constantly afraid I'm going to bring something home.
right.
So it's more precautionary work. I'm not really avid on going out and showing stuff, but once everything gets lifted and we get a vaccine, hopefully, I think I'll be a lot more willing to sign up and be like, hey, do you need another participant? I'm down. Like, it's just
Yeah.
sketchy now.
Yeah. Yeah. It is crazy times. You said for you know people that don't know about that festival, what was the name of it, and what kind of festival is it? Like, what is it?
It's Microfilm Art Festival. You can either hit up Delilah Silverman or Ruben Chavez if you're interested. I think the fee is $50 something still. I think. I don't remember. But they just showcase locally. The last one that they were going to do was in San Diego. But they just like grab these little venues and They invite artists and musicians, people who make stuff, people who even make food. If you're interested, and you can just showcase your stuff, like pass out your business cards and be like, "Hey, you're interested in doing it?" You know. So it's really fun. Like it's such an eclectic group of people and stuff that they do. It's really fun to go to.
That is cool. That's cool that that they're giving that opportunity or a platform like that. You know,
Exactly. It was such an
that's
honor. I was like, "Are you sure you want me?" Like,
like that's a pretty good memento to you. You know, as in the art that you create. Yeah, that says something about the artist. You know, at least in my opinion. So yeah, that's really cool. Man, you had mentioned something, and I'm trying to. I wanted to ask you something about it. It has something to do with the microfilm festival. Oh yes, no, it has nothing to do with the microfilm festival. Your paintings. So, do you use? I know, right? Do you use acrylic or oil painting or like any other type of tempera and caustic or?
I mostly use oils. I tried watercolor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not opposed to using it again, but it's definitely a very, shall we say, bitchy medium. Because it literally does whatever it wants. Like you try to control it. Like that's why I like oil paint so much because it's easier to control and it's slow drying time, so you can go over it again. But watercolor is a challenge because it dries too fast, and then you mess up once and it's messed up forever. And with acrylic, I tried it out, but it dries a little too fast for me. So I'm stuck mostly with oils.
Got you. Do you use any mediums like to quicken the paint to set, like to quicken the time, or do you use like anything like that?
I should, but I keep forgetting they exist. I just like stick it in the garage and like hope the heat makes it dry fast enough, and just like spot touch it. I was like, okay, can I work on it now? Like,
That's pretty funny. That's funny. That's an interesting way to work. But you know what? I have a friend. She's an oil painter as well, and she actually goes to school in Long Beach. And she, a friend of hers, wanted her to paint on the shoe, which she did. So I kind of asked her, I was like, "Yo, like, how'd you dry it?" You know. But she did the exact same thing. You know, she left it out onto the sun and allowed it to dry. And I mean, looked good, you know. She showed me and I was like, "Oh, that looks sick," you know. Like not just like the visuals of it, but as well as like how it dried, the paint of it being onto it was a Vans shoe. So being onto that shoe and how it adhered, you know. One thing that she doesn't know, like, because I asked her, I was like, you know, do you ever think about like covering it up, like putting a protectant over it? So is there anything like that for oils, and if so, do you use that for your oil paintings?
Oh, to cover it,
Like just to like kind of keep it protected, like maybe from like UV or like sunlight, stuff like that.
to be honest with you, I don't know. I tried varnishing to make it look like glossy, but that one has a really slow drying time too, and you pretty much have to have it in a perfect environment where there's no dust, no nothing. You just barely get a little dust mite on it, and it's like ruined forever. But honestly, I'm not experienced enough to know if there's like UV protection or anything. I just throw them in a trash bag so they don't get dusty and like stick them in the corner. And they haven't gotten scratched yet.
That's definitely better than just leaving it out for, like you said, you know, the dust and all that to collect on them. And my mom has been guilty about that. I'm like, Ma, no, you got to cover them with something. So I'm like, I saw it. I put it quickly away into, you know, a bag, and I let her know, just so, you know, don't want her to think it's trash. Then that'll be weird.
No, it's valuable. Don't do
it. But that's what's up. So I'm assuming you went to Cal State San Bernardino. Is that how you got connected with the little gallery, or how did you get connected?
I knew Andrew for a while, like all throughout Cal State, and still kept in touch with him when I graduated. And then one day, Eric Servin hit me up and was like, "Hey, we want to start this gallery thing, and we're going through artists that we know. We're wondering if you'd be interested." I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure." Me thinking I was gonna be a group show, they're like, "No, it's gonna be like your own solo show." And I was like, "Are you sure?" Like, so it was such an honor, like being one of the first people to kind of like christen their grounds, and like get the notoriety going, and like people know it's there now, and they have shows booked out till like next year, and I'm like so proud of them because they were like so unsure if it was even gonna make it. I'm like, no, yo, like you're starting a really good thing, especially for a community like San Bernardino where there's artists here. We just don't know if we have opportunity here. And then they offered this awesome thing, and it gives, yeah, and then people know that San Bernardino exists. So it's an awesome thing that they did, and I'm like so honored that I was part of it. And Eric was like, "I know it's not LACMA." I'm like, "I don't give a shit if you guys are LACMA. Like, I'm so stoked that I'm here. Like,
yeah, definitely
being a part of this. I was like, "Thank you so much."
Definitely, yeah, I definitely agree with that, man. That it is cool that there is a platform like the Little Gallery for the San Bernardino artists, for the local artists of the area, because I mean, it's so far like LACMA and all those art galleries out there, and that's tasteful in itself, But yeah, because there's some talent out there, like.
And it's also nice having a space that you can go to that's not like reserved for the elite. You know what I mean? Like LACMA and all those galleries are cool, but it's more like a tourist kind of thing. And even like the commercial galleries out there, like people are kind of subservient to go over to LA because everyone's like, "Oh yeah, this is one of the art meccas besides New York." But then you get like upper class people that come in and then they look at your work, and it's not really about what you create and what your message is. It's more like, okay, what kind of an investment can I make on this artist? So it's nice being in a neutral zone where it's like people just come and show stuff that they feel like showing, and it's just art for the sake of art instead of like trying to make money off of it.
Yeah,
very refreshing.
yeah, and like you say, it's not to put down those artists that are showcased at LACMA and all that, but like BRU, there's no way at this point in time, yeah.
Hell, like.
Yeah, I say, yeah. Maybe one day. We'll see. whatever life has. Yeah. whatever life has, That's funny. But right on. Do you do any, other than oil paintings, do you do any other like sculptural work? Do you do any mixed media? Or are you just exclusively to oil painting?
I draw on the side.
Oh, that's cool. Do you have do you have any drawings around? Like,
I only have one on the wall. Can I show it to you?
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna turn my light on in here.
I need to move in the light too. Alright, so hopefully you can see him. So that's Lane State from Alice in Chains, the lead singer. He's in charcoal, mostly charcoal.
Is that do you only do like charcoal painting, or do you also mess with like graphite and
graphite? Yeah, graphite / charcoal.
Okay, no, that's what's up. That's what's up.
Let's put somewhere else. I'm sorry.
Out of your Dreamscapes, how many? Have you only done the two that you just showed, or is this like a series that's been ongoing?
I've done 3 afterlife landscapes. So I did a Purgatory, Heaven, and Hell. Heaven was tiny, Hell was huge, and Purgatory was like in the middle. And then I did
That's pretty
Valhalla,
cool.
which is this one. Trying to think. I think I did like one other, and it had a figure in it. But I've done like quite a few. But,
For the Purgatory series, I like. That's very interesting. You chose the different dimensions. The smallest dimension versus the biggest dimension. What were their sizes?
I think like the heaven was like a foot by a foot, but the hell one was like 5 by 6.
Oh, dang. Oh, yeah, that's pretty cool. I get the. That's pretty cool that you're replicating, heaven, purgatory, and hell in those sizes. That's very. When you like, especially what's going on with today, right? You're like, man, it must be that big, yo. So I get what you're playing on. That's for sure. You're like, dang, like, I mean, even when you look back at history and humanity wanting to conquer, itself, basically, you have to wonder how big one versus the other one is, and especially you chose. I'm sorry, you chose the in between size for purgatory. That's really cool.
Yeah, and like growing up in a Catholic household, like it seems like you have less wiggle room to get into heaven half the time. So it was like, so the size kind of played into that too.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's really cool, especially when you put them right next to each other. I think that's visually really awesome, as well as like what is the meaning behind the different sizes. Yeah, that's for sure. Your your opening day at the little gallery, when, showcased. What was your emotions at the time? What were your thoughts like going into it?
Dude, I was so scared. Like that was the most intimidating. Like even though it was like this tiny little opening, like I was so scared. I'm like, what if people hate it? What if people try to fight with me? Like, what if they're like, this doesn't mean anything? Like, but it was such a cool reception, and just like having people look at your stuff and like creating dialogues is like the best feeling in the world. They're like, oh my God, how did you do this? Like, what did you mean by this? And I'm like, it's really, and just like connect with people like that.
Yeah, that
Once you
is
get
a
over
good
the
feeling.
scary hump, like it's really fun. Like,
Right, the uncertainty, like, okay, cool, hey, all right, they like
are they
it.
gonna hate it? What's going?
Like, what's my exit? Let's see.
Yeah, like, how fast can I run down this street right now? Like,
Well, cool that it went the way you did. You got the reactions that you got. Like you said, it's really awesome. Do you do in your paintings? Have you done a lot more? Yeah, figural work. I mean, like having figures in your painting, or more like abstract work.
it's more abstract nowadays. Like, I like doing figurative stuff. It's just there's a lot that goes into it. Like, I
Wait,
legit have
how
to do my
so?
homework. Like, I have to find out how big it is, and how's the figure gonna fit, and what's the concept that's gonna go behind it, and like what kind of colors do I need, and like what does the figure have to look like in order to portray the concept that I'm trying to do. So it's like all this research that goes into just the main focus of what the thing is gonna be. So it's like I feel like I spend more time on those than the dreamscape kind of like the abstract pieces, because those you don't even have to think about it. You just like pick a few colors and then you just work around it. But the other ones are a lot more daunting in the sense where you really have to think about what you want to say and like how you're going to convey it.
That's pretty. To hear you kind of talk about what does go in, or yeah, what does go into the painting, what you're considering, and all that. It's really cool because it does show you the process and the method that either it's a process that all artists go through, or maybe it's just your method. Whatever the case may be, it's an example of that, and it shows the hard work behind the visuals.
Yeah.
Do you skew your proportions of your figures, or do you kind of maintain that a proportion of it?
I try. I mean, I haven't taken life drawing since community college, but I kind of do like having like an alien type figure. I also do genderless figures too, because I try to make it more like what's the word? Like I try to portray humanity in and of itself, or it, it's like a representation of humanity as a whole. Is what I'm trying to say. So
I see.
I'm not trying to portray any even gender or any like type of race. It's just like this homogenous thing that's trying to reflect what we do as people. But I do like making them look all contorted and weird and kind of emaciated, kind of like because it kind of like brings out the disturbing aspect of the idea behind the piece too.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
not supposed to make you feel comfortable.
Definitely, and
You like squirm a little bit.
and that will definitely do it, and it's intentional. It's like with photography, when you look at the old black and whites with like Nosferatu, and you look at the reverse light,
All grainy.
Yes, and
Yeah.
all that plays into that, just like what you're describing for your figures, drawing them in that manner gives those emotions out, and it connects to the painting as well, conceptually, what the ideas that you want to express.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. Your paintings are really awesome. Like I said, I definitely like the figure. Yeah, no, I could definitely see, 'cause I'm familiar with the little gallery since 2019, this past academic year. I just transferred into San Bernardino, and then met Andrew, and that's how I learned about it. And it's been with the shows that I've gone have been awesome work, So it definitely what you're showing me, it definitely still holds up to that. It's awesome. So I do want to say thank you for giving us the time to speak to you about your work and hear about your thoughts.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh yeah, totally.
I'm like,
It
hey,
was.
you want to talk to me?
Yeah, man, it's definitely a pleasure. Like I say, we do thank you. Thank you for your time too.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for putting up with my technical difficulties.
Ah, don't worry. So thank you. You go on and enjoy the rest of your evening.
You too. Thank you.